I thought we'd kick off with the poll, so I'll end it now.
Yeah.
Thanks for voting, everyone. So hopefully you guys can see it all. So dedication came out on top, Justin. So 10 out of the 12 of us here voted that number one. So yeah, what are your reflections on that?
It's interesting, isn't it? See, you know, I think the main message that I was trying to get across, that maybe the people skills are very important, and they didn't feature too highly in the poll. So that's an interesting one. And funnily enough, a colleague of mine works in the professional game in the academy, and I asked the same question, and their response was actually people skills are very important, because when they've ever had to let somebody go from their role, it's not normally the knowledge or the fact that they might have all the knowledge. It's normally the fact that they struggle with parents, or they struggle with communicating with players, or other coaches find them, you know, difficult to get along with. And that's what normally is the end for them. And yeah, so I think certainly, you know, like I said, all of it's important, but for me, you've really got to work on your people skills. Dedication, though, is also is having that resilience to you will get. There's a good book actually called Grit, and I don't so if anybody gets a chance to read that, it's an excellent sort of indicator of people who've got to the real top, and they developed a score in the US for the Grit score. And looking at the resilience and, you know, how you can keep going through adversity. So that dedication is massively important as well. Yeah,
I think the book's by Angela Duckworth,
that's right.
guys. So yeah, if you have a little search, but she has a formula. I'm trying to think what it is, because I've read this recently. It was like effort times talent equals achievement, and then I need to refresh it. I'm gonna butcher it, but she had like a formula for it, and it just basically it broke down to effort being twice. So whatever we do, we can't skip hard work and effort in whatever it is that we're doing. So I guess that comes back to dedication, I guess, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So question for you about your transition into business and how you've been kind of juggling your football playing, and then into coaching, and then management, and now it's kind of transitioning where you've got more of a holistic view of all kinds of functions. What sort of extra qualities have you had to develop over the time, so now to allow you to be more effective in your role as a kind of co-owner?
It's a good question, and I think it's learning to let go a little bit and to trust people to do their jobs. And because you know a little bit about a lot of things, you know, there's a temptation that I want to get too involved. So I think what I've learned is really giving a clear structure and role, but allowing them to almost come up with their own systems, and having trust in the people that you bring in. So that's really, really important. And I think also over the years, I've learned more, probably asking questions more than giving answers. So, you know, and that goes to coaching as well. You know, when I started coaching, it was all command style, and it was the coach has to learn absolutely everything and then download it on the players. Whereas now, you know, it's more a player-centered approach, and involving them in the journey. And you might have the direction that you want them to go, but it's getting them to buy into it. So I think that takes a lot of learning, and I think also maybe learning to step back. And passion is very important, and you know, but sometimes you can get too into your role or the game, and it's having the level where yes, we're passionate about it, but at the same time we're in control of our mind a little bit. And so and keep learning. So I've undertaken lots of short courses, business courses, leadership, and that really is helping me an awful lot. and getting the clear plans in place as well. Yeah.
What is your planning process right now for instance, like you just touched on your like professional development, where you're taking leadership courses and coaching courses and business courses? Yeah. Is there kind of like a system or like just a wish list that you follow? What's your sort of way of going about it?
Not really. I think if I had the clarity of that single vision, then that would, probably what similar people in my position who are friends who just have the coaching company, they've actually gone on to grow their companies a lot bigger than mine is at the moment, and great, and I've no problem with that. And similarly, if I was just focusing on the football club, I might be able to drive that. Whereas at the moment, I'm a little bit sort of in between the two. So my next stage is to bring in the right people so that I'm completely out of it, if you like, and then just not completely out of it, but I'm actually just asking the questions, and I think I'm holding it back a little bit. I need somebody driving both fully, so that's my next challenge really. But yeah, but because I enjoy both as well. I think you've got to decide where you want to go, and do I want to go all over the country, all over the world, for example, or am I happy? And you've got the family balance and so on. So for me, it's just getting that kind of balance right. And yeah, so that's what I'm learning, and I am setting goals and challenges, but they're perhaps a little different than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think obviously now we have so much choice, more than we did perhaps at any other time. It's almost you can almost get caught in analysis paralysis, like overwhelmed with what to do and what different paths to take, because everything is accessible, it's quickly available to us, and usually it's quite relevant, it's quite attractive and interesting. So how do you make your choices? I mean, I guess this is a question for before now you find yourself in quite a settled position, but how were you making your choices? Was it more intuition, or was it more maybe financially motivated? I don't know. What was your criteria?
Yeah, and I think I just always wanted to better myself, if you like. And when I was a coach, I wanted to be the next level, and then when I was at the next level, I wanted to be the manager, and so on. And I've just always been one of those driven people who but development doesn't always go upwards. Yeah, it could be that you find yourself in a role that you just really suited to. But for me, I don't know, it was a natural evolution rather than a planned one on many things. I became owner of the football club at a time when there was a lot of turbulence, and we had an investor in America who was the owner, who went to prison for fraud. And it left the club in a real problem, where I was managing the first team at the time, and ended up having to pick up a lot of the pieces. And so it kind of got thrown my way, and then things happen that you don't necessarily plan. That certainly wasn't part of the plan. I think we lost that game as well.
I think sometimes life throws you an opportunity, and you could take it or you can leave it. And I think generally speaking, I don't know what your experience is, but when I've taken things, I tend not to have the regret that I took it, but rather the regret that I didn't take it. So it might not work out as we planned, as you've touched on across your presentation, but you'll be richer for the experiences, and you'll grow. Yeah,
it's getting that balance. And I think as I've got older, and I've actually learned to say no to a lot more. Whereas I would try and do absolutely everything. And the reason for that is that there comes an opportunity cost. So you take it, but it means you've got less focus on other areas. And if you do that too often and you spread yourself too thin, you're not going to flourish in any of the areas. So it's getting that balance right, but certainly, getting lots of opportunities. And also there's nothing wrong with finding out you don't like something as well. So that certainly enriches you as well. So
yeah. This is almost like an investment of time to do something for a while, realize you don't like it, and then you never have to do that again. So, you know, you kind of win your time back. Just to bring this back to coaching for those who are on the call, I think most of us are coaches here. So you touched on people skills being a kind of a non-negotiable almost as a key skill. Yeah. What other skills or kind of areas of interest would you say a coach should begin to explore or look into if they're to separate themselves and continue their progression just along the coaching path? Maybe analytics, maybe business.
Yeah, I think with coaching, you've got to realize what you're there to do, and coaching is about improving players. So it's about improving players as individuals, as units, and, you know, as a whole team. So you must have your focus on those areas, and you've got to think about ways of how you can connect with all of the players that you're coaching. How can you get them moving forwards in their development? No matter if they're a senior player or you know, or a young player, there are areas to develop and work on. Creating the right atmosphere, getting people enjoying it, but also I think one of the key things for coaching is not having too many aims all the time for each session. We're going to try and hit this, and this. It becomes too much. Narrow it down. So maybe only like 3 main aims that you're focusing on, and then think about, okay, how am I really going to embed this? How am I going to revisit it? And the golden nugget is, how does it link to the game? How does it link to the game we had last week or the previous game? How's it going to link to the next game? What are we looking for? And I think the other thing I learned was I used to focus a lot on what we're going to get better at. So all of the information I was taking from games was, oh, we haven't done that very well, and that bit we might have won 5-0, you know. And then I'm setting a session up the next night to look at, we didn't do this very well, so we're going to try, and that can be demotivating. So, you know, it's getting that balance of, you know, a lot of the targets might be around what we're doing well and building and you know, that kind of stuff. So. But for me, it's keeping it succinct, having a clear plan, an aim and objective to each training session, but you've got to have the link to the reality of the game, and that will impact on the type of practices that you're going to use, the players that you're going to put into certain positions, thinking about how you're going to set it up. And so on. So you must have that game. I think as a player, when you're in a session, you want to be working hard. You want to feel you've really got something out of the session. But also, one of the questions you're going to have is, why are we doing this? So it's having that clear link from information, and then how it's going to impact performance.
Yeah. Perfect. Really good. Okay. We'll begin to wrap this up. So guys, I want to just thank you for spending your time with us today, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you took something from it. Justin, thank you so much. So I'll just leave the final words with you. Yeah, and thank you once again.
No problem. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And hopefully those of you that managed to join, you can take 1 or 2 things out of it that, again, that will impact you. And that's what it's all about, is what, you know, we can talk forever about various bits, but if there's one thing that resonated with you, maybe think about how you can utilize it or implement it. But it was very enjoyable, even though it's just me staring at a screen, you know. But thank you for allowing me to share some snippets of information and a little bit about myself. And if anybody ever needs anything or wants to follow up, then you can find me at Oxford City Football Club. So yeah, through the club website, or feel free to connect on LinkedIn as well. Yeah.
Superb. Excellent.
Right.
Once again, Justin, cheers everyone.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.